extends and expands already funded work. We do not want to repeat or to embed what is already being funded within the hub, and therefore it's important that any applicants look on our website at what we are already doing and also clarify with people who are working on hub projects where what you're doing may fit into that. It's worth noting that we have recently also funded a number of flexible funded projects. So again, we don't want to repeat what we have already funded. This is in order to extend and expand. What we are after is one project. I'm calling it a project, but it's quite a large sum of money which is available, up to 270,000 at 80% full economic cost. So for some of you, this may be more of a program of work. It may be about looking at a set of chemicals or materials rather than just one pathway or one substance. It is for all the things you would normally expect UKRI to fund. So it can include staff time, it can include travel, subsistence, consumables and experimental cost. You must include within that funding level all that you will need in order to deliver your programme of work. That will include the requirement that you interact with and disseminate your results with the Supergen Bioenergy Hub. So that means things like attending our meetings, working as a co-investigator on the project, and any travel or other expenses associated with that. All UK research organisations who are normally eligible for UKRI funding can apply for this. The exceptions are those that we are already funding, and that is because we want to use this opportunity to expand and to grow and to bring in more people into the current Supergen Bioenergy Impact Hub programme. The research objective then, it's around developing the scientific and engineering understanding of the potential of bio-based chemicals and materials in the UK and global marketplaces. It's worth noting at this point that the Supergen Bioenergy Impact Hub is funded by both EPSRC and BBSRC. So there is considerable scope to focus on the chemical, biological and biochemical techniques within that. There is the sort of strict cut-off that you might get if you had only one of those funders involved. And it also involves looking at appropriate feedstocks, processes, product properties, sustainability and socio-economics. So that might bring into play some of the things that would normally sit, for example, within the Natural Environment Research Council or the ESRC. But the main body of work we are expecting here will be EPSRC and BBSRC focused, as those are the main funders. The work can be based in a laboratory, it can be modelling work, it can be field-based work, it can be inquiry-based. We are totally open to anything which is normally within UKRI's funding scope. And it can also very usefully build upon the existing... I think I've just stopped sharing. Apologies, I think I've just lost my screen. Let me try and get it back.
We can see that.
Okay. It can also build upon the existing frameworks which we have. So, for example, we have a professional forum, we have an industrial forum, we have a public engagement forum, and we have a policy forum. So if you are doing work that particularly aligns with any of those four pillars, then it may be that you can use the hub to enhance what you are doing by working with those stakeholders, not just for dissemination, but perhaps for the actual research activity itself. The application form we are trying to keep relatively simple. We want a title and summary of your project. We want you to tell us what your research aim is and objectives. And we do need to see your methodological approach to ensure that it is sound and sensible. I think it's worth mentioning at this point that traditionally we have always, within the Supergen Bioenergy Impact Hub, had blind applications, and we would like to maintain that anonymity here, but we do need to have something about the ability to deliver. So at the moment, we're asking for the form to have the title, the summary, the research aim and objectives, methodological approach, key outputs, impact and stakeholders, and there will be a separate assessment of ability to deliver. So the assessment criteria are whether we're looking for the scientific novelty and technical innovation. But I think, again, it's worth stressing that this is an impact hub. So the scientific novelty may not necessarily be sitting at TRLs 1 or 2. The scientific novelty may be around how to deliver impact and how to fully realise the commercialisation potential of some of the more fundamental related discoveries in this space. It must fit with the Hub research programme. That means both be consistent with our aim and objectives and also, as I have consistently said, expand and extend rather than repeat. We will be looking to make sure that you are using an appropriate methodology for what you are trying to achieve. We will be looking at your outputs and we'll be looking at your dissemination and engagement strategy. Again, this is an area where it's useful for you to get in touch with us if you aren't already connected with the Hub. If you want to check, for example, what sort of events we're planning on running, what sort of impact activities we have already lined up and what support we might be able to offer to help you with that dissemination and engagement strategy. We would rather that this new project and programme worked with the Hub strategy than reinvented the wheel on its own dissemination and engagement programme. That is not what we're looking for. This work must have impact potential because we are an impact-focused hub. And that will be an assessment criteria, as will be the value for money. Now, I want to talk about external leverage here. The Hub is expecting to have a significant leverage of non-UKRI funding during its lifetime. And therefore, we are ideally looking for projects that would bring in something of the order of a 1-to-1 leverage. So where the UKRI funding would be half of what can be contributed in total, although that contribution can be in kind as well as in cash amounts and may not all be fully realised at the outset of the project. It must, however, be evidenced and auditable. And the ability to deliver will also be an assessment criteria. So the timeline, we issued this call on the 8th of November. We have a fairly rapid turnaround. We want the submissions to be in by the 8th of December, but this is not going in via the UKRI official system, which I've temporarily forgotten the name of. It's not JES anymore. The funding portal, I think it's not going in via that. It's coming in via email to us. So that should make things slightly simpler for you. In terms of institutional approvals, we expect that you have consulted within your organisation, and it would be really helpful if you were to confirm that when you send things in. But we appreciate that asking for this by the 8th of December means that in many cases it will not be possible to get your PVCR or your Dean for Research to have formally approved the full thing by then. So we can be a little bit flexible on this. We want to see a programme of work. We want to see that you have attempted to cost it correctly and coherently within your institutional procedures. But if you haven't got it all fully signed off by the 8th of December, we're willing to appraise it anyway, provided that you continue working on that approval in between. We're going to be reviewing these between the 9th of December and 6th of January. You will spot that there is a thing called Christmas holiday in the middle of that, and that's why we're allowing a full 4-week period for proposal review, because most of our reviewers are probably only going to be working for 2 of those 4 weeks. We then hope to convene our project management group for a final decision on this on the 15th of January. The earliest date that we think it's viable for a project to therefore start is the 1st of March 2025. We're not going to impose a later start date, but we want you to join us as soon as you possibly can. But we do have a latest end date, which is 1st November 2027, because of the period over which we are funded. So what are we looking for? We want the investigator on this project to not just deliver the research that they are describing, but also to become a full part of the Supergen Bioenergy Impact Hub's management team. And that means that we work together as a team in order to deliver events, in order to build the community in the UK, and to provide support for other bioenergy and related researchers on dissemination, on policy engagement, and on industry engagement. You will coordinate your project and be responsible for reporting on it, but you will also be involved in helping others within the management team who may be more junior, mentoring and support of both the management team members and also some of the ECRs within the wider consortium. You will Within the management team, everyone has a separate area of responsibility. We have someone responsibility for industry engagement, some are responsible for ECRs. So we would expect you to identify an area that you could contribute to on behalf of Supergen, as well as for your individual project. And we expect you to participate fully in our forums, in our assemblies, and in our researchers' meetings. We don't see this as an additional onerous ask on you. We see this as an opportunity, because by engaging in these things, you will actually enhance the work that you do and you will enhance its impact and reach. We want you to help us when we issue similar funding calls to this by reviewing proposals. It should be obvious to you that when this proposal that you submit comes in, we need to find some people both internally and externally who will review it. And therefore, when you become a member of our management team, we will expect you to do the same for other flex-funded processes. We are currently short of one director of the Supergen Hub. At the moment, there is just myself and Jason Hallett at Imperial College. And we are having a phased process here so that we want to bring this new project in, bring this new member of our research management group in, and then we will enter into a process whereby all of the current members of the project, all of the co-investigators can apply to become the director on the project. So our projects at the moment, to give you an idea of what we cover, I'm not going to read through all these, but we've already got work on digitalization and AI. We've already got work on hydrogen biogasification, on biowaste electrolysis, on hydrogen carbon capture and storage, on RDME, and on aviation fuels. If your project that you have an idea about is similar to any of those, if it perhaps is a materials and chemicals process but also involves gasification or electrolysis, or might use RDME as a pathway, can I suggest that you note the name of the person given there and that you start by contacting them in order to clarify how your idea sits alongside what is already funded. And the same is true here. I lead the work on indirect land use change, but there are lots of other activities here, including the one you will see, third one down, that we are about to award. So if you need to clarify the scope of any existing work under any of those topics, you have the names of all the individuals here. If you can't find their emails in the wider world, we will provide them to you. This is how the overall thing is structured. We believe that new commercialized technologies in this space are first incubated in the laboratory and research environment, but then it's about getting that process out there, about replication, about extension, about diffusion of commercial ideas. And so even within this very narrow area of biochemicals and biomaterials, it could be that your project sits in incubation, whereby you are trying to develop a particular pathway or technology and bring it to market, or it may be that it sits within diffusion, where you are developing cross-cutting information about perhaps the strength of materials or the type of conversion processes that are most appropriate in different contexts. So those are the way we group our projects, and then we support them, as I mentioned earlier, via our forums related to markets, policies, public acceptability and policy. These are our current academic and industrial partners. We would expect that the project coming in would bring its own industrial partners or be connecting in with some of these, but it is unlikely, I think, that any projects that are coming in to be funded in an impact hub would not have any industrial connection. So that is what I am expecting, but it isn't a requirement. So thank you very much to all of you for attending. It is really heartening, actually, to see 52 people on this call. Absolutely fabulous. I just can't reiterate enough that this Supergen Bioenergy Impact Hub thrives on the inputs that it gets from different disciplines, different universities, different perspectives. And I'm going to say that although we haven't released yet the awardees from our last flexible funding, I'm going to look at Raki here. I think that 2 of them were people who had never been part of the hub before, and another 2 were people who'd never had direct funding before but had been hub members. So we are constantly looking to bring new people in, and we really would welcome some new blood in this area. So I hope to be inundated with exciting proposals. If you do have any queries, please don't hesitate to get in touch, and I will check up on what's happening after I get back from Melbourne. Okay, thank you all. Bye.